there are a bunch of videos that are still coming out of St. Paul, Minnesota. Also, of course, out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, but St. Paul gets less attention. So I want to give St. Paul a little shout out as the less recognized of the Twin Cities. Videos like this of confrontations between citizens and non-citizens with ICE agents at their doors. This is just one example of one of these videos that are coming out. They come out every day, and so often confirming exactly which each video is from and each individual instance can be difficult. But a lot of people have put in a good amount of effort to document these instances, whether it be published three-letter media, whether it be individual like freelance journalists, or the people themselves who have documented their experiences on social media. Here's just one example that was recorded recently in St. Paul.
Can we help you?
Yeah.
I don't care who you are.
I don't care who you are.
Okay, then go away.
Hold on a second.
No, you're trespassing. You're trespassing. This is our property. I don't need to do anything. I don't need to do anything.
Okay.
You're trespassing.
I'm not though.
This is my house. I'm going to call the cops on you.
I'm not in your house.
You know I have the rights to bear arms, right? If you're trespassing.
I'm not trespassing.
Oh, get away. Yes, you are.
I'll wait out front for you. Come on.
You can do whatever you want. You're trespassing. I'll call the cops on you. I will.
Go ahead.
All right, I'll tell them that.
Okay, I'll wait.
You don't need to wait. You're trespassing. I tell them that you're trespassing. You don't need to wait. We're not opening the door.
You don't
I
have
don't.
to wait.
I don't care who you are.
I don't care who you are.
Oh, good. Then go away.
I'm waiting for you. I'll be out front waiting for you.
Waiting for who? Who? Okay, good for you. Waste your time. Thank you for trespassing. Wow.
Now, the only reason I picked this video in particular is the general sentiment of locals towards ICE agents. I think it displayed it pretty well. There was also an interaction at a local auto shop where an ICE agent had entered the area, and the person said, this is a private residence, you can't be here. And they said, oh, they had a warrant, but whether it was an administrative warrant given by an immigration judge, which is part of the executive branch, or whether it was a judicial warrant given by a magistrate, which are two very different things, are not clearly expressed. And so there's a bunch of different instances I could use. Here's one more instance that got some attention recently. This is in an apartment complex, and the apartment owner confronts an ICE agent which had wiggled their way into the complex. And when confronted, they said that the apartment complex is not private property, and so they did not need a warrant to be there.
Who are you looking for?
We're looking for a particular person, right?
Do you have a search warrant? A judicial? You're not gonna get.
This is not a.
This is a private property.
This is not a private property.
This is.
This is not a private property.
This is. You're not gonna get in. I can't open the door.
This is not a. This is not. Are you manager, man?
I am, but I'm not gonna open the door
Why
without
not?
a warrant.
Okay.
I'm the property manager.
Okay, would you be able to tell me if this person's here, or you don't
I
wanna-
can't tell you.
Don't want to tell me that either.
Nope. I
You
can't.
want to keep your criminals in your
I
apartment?
can't tell you anything.
Okay. Have a nice day, man.
You too. Have a great day.
Let's not keep your criminals in the
And I do. I want to keep my residents safe.
criminals now?
I want to keep my residents safe.
So videos like this are becoming very, very common. And I just got back from Minneapolis in the St. Paul area. I had filmed there for about a week going into the weekend. I let the B-roll filming, I let other local camera enthusiasts handle that, so I could focus just on what we termed ice fishing. So I believe this was termed by Mercado Media, but I don't know if he was really the first person to say it. But ice fishing is essentially you're going through neighborhoods where you believe ICE is operating in order to film ICE activity, so you make sure that it is properly documented. Now, what is interesting about us doing this, and I'm not going to spoil too much of what happens in the documentary, because I do want people to go watch the documentary. It is clear that the federal government is not a huge fan of what we were doing. a Ford Fisher, who I would call one of the best ice fishers in the Minneapolis area. He was directly called out by the Department of Homeland Security as quote unquote stalking and impeding and obstructing ICE agents by him filming their operations. Because the way that they would do it is that once they would identify an ICE agent and, hey, if you want help, okay, the main things you can look for is number one, they're usually late model SUVs. While that's not always the case, it's usually the case that they're late model SUVs. And if you're a white man right now in a late model SUV in the Minneapolis area, okay, congratulations. You're one of the few white people that can probably complain about discrimination, because, man, they're going to see that and the code community is going to be staring at you like a hawk. But you have late model SUV, tinted windows. So those two things together, it's almost sure. And then if you add the fact that they've got some like dirt on the rear license plate or anything to like cover up what the license plate is, that's not always important. But if that is the case, all those three things together, that's for sure an ICE agent. Anybody masked up in those late model SUVs, usually an ICE agent. Especially, you know, if it's in an area where you know ICE is operating, all these things are the signs that you can look for to identify an ICE agent. Now, or, you know, an ICE vehicle and an ICE agent. Now, we would go around and we would film that activity. We would film how ICE was operating. Now, number one, I can say that this is definitely press. This is journalism. This is what journalists do. They film police activity. This has been the case forever. It is 100% constitutionally protected. And when I was at the protests at nighttime that got out of control, at one point I was detained. Morally corrupt, bankrupt man. I was detained by local Minneapolis PD. But then I was let go once they identified that I was a journalist. The reason why is because journalists filming police activity, even past the point when they say you're under arrest, everybody gets arrested, it's so acknowledged as a public need that they can be shown to not be like beating like protesters and even sometimes rioters like half to death, that it's a public need for their activity to be documented, to show that they're following everybody's constitutional rights. You know, there's a lot of people who follow the philosophy of always film the police, which of course to a police officer that might be seen as a sign of distrust, but ultimately that is people's rights. And a lot of people are of the belief that if you do not exercise a right, you will lose that right. And so for most of the time while I was in Minneapolis, this is what I was doing. I was ice fishing. And most of the time they didn't really interfere with what we were doing. They didn't like stop us from filming. A lot of times we would film them. They would clearly get annoyed that we were filming them and they would kind of skedaddle as if their cover had been blown, right? Because, you know, cameras directed at a car, everybody's going to look at the car. Now everybody's looking at the late model SUV. Now they're noticing all the signs, tinted windows, everything else. Boom, you're made. And you got to get out of there. You know, you might have like an Uber or Lyft sticker on the back to throw them off. It doesn't matter anymore. People can see through that. People can see through that. And the only time they really confronted us, I remember once when we were filming them changing a tire. It took them like 30 minutes to change a tire. Mercado released some footage of it already. We'll also release some footage of it. And I during that interaction, I mostly focused on how the locals were interacting with the police, which I thought was fascinating. Because as much as people would say, hey, you know, the Chicago out of towners, people from the Windy City are coming in here and making all the trouble. When I saw them changing that tire, the people who were heckling them were people walking out of their front, like their front room onto their porch and then yelling at them. And I will tell you that these are not, you know, sometimes, you know, political activists can be quite unfiltered and quite aggressive. And I've seen that. But a lot of times the type of aggression I was seeing, I could just tell is just working class aggression. It's just somebody who does not care about getting canceled in any way, who has no filter, doesn't like the fact that you're in his neighborhood, and is going to say whatever that he thinks is going to hurt you the most, right? Go end your, like, go kill yourself, go at it. Like, just like a lot of people coming out in the front porches where you're like, oh, Minnesota nice doesn't apply to ICE. You know, that's the conclusion that I have I have found for a lot of these people. Because it's not these out of town activists. It is mostly local people. When I went to the major protests, 80 to 90% of the people I saw there, locals. When I saw ICE activity being monitored, 80 to 90% of the people doing it, locals. When I saw people walking out their front porches, 100% of them, locals, coming out to confront ICE, coming out to have a back and forth with ICE. So to be clear, it wasn't like I was doing something that was particularly out of the norm. It's just that we were doing it from a journalistic capacity for a documentary. We wanted to film what ICE was doing. And we only got confronted directly by ICE once, where about 12 to 20 of their men, I have to go back and count it on camera. Really, it was a lot, piled out of their cars to confront us, guns at the ready, pistols at the ready, pepper spray out to tell us, don't follow them, obstructing, etc. Essentially getting across the idea that if we follow them and film them, even if we were to like go around about and everything, not even directly follow them, but go around about and etc., that is some sort of impediment on them. That's obstructing. But if we're coming behind them, I still don't see how that's obstructing police activity. If I am following a police vehicle from a distance of 100 meters away, filming, you cannot honestly say that I'm obstructing their operations. If I was in front of the vehicle blocking its movement, if I was going out there stabbing the tires or something, doing things that you would clearly say is meant to obstruct their activity, then maybe you can make an argument. But filming cops, even during an investigation, is 100% legally protected. Why do we have, when you go and you check all those travel apps or those map apps where you're like, hey, I want to go to Chipotle, let me enter in the coordinates, they'll tell you where traffic is slowed down. And they'll also tell you where there's police activity. Is that protected? Is that illegal? No, it's not illegal. No, it's not illegal. Even if the cop doesn't want you to know that they're there because they're trying to ticket people, that is not illegal to inform people that they're there. Is it illegal for me to text, hey, there's a new speed camera on the end of the road here? Text that to my buddy, be careful going around. Oh, am I going to get fined for that? Of course not. But the way that ICE has been treated, this is my view, this is my opinion, okay? You can disagree with it. I'm separating it from what I've seen here. But my opinion is ICE has been treated as special in some capacity. They're allowed to not identify themselves. They're allowed to cover up their faces. They don't always have to go and get these judicial warrants. Like, they can use administrative warrants and even abuse administrative warrants with really no consequences. They can be quite snarky when engaging with the public, which I got a lot of snarkiness in my experience when they were engaging with the public. They can, I mean, they are being treated with less accountability. And so I think that that is being reflected in their behavior and both how they engage with the wider public, but also the amount of public reaction and filming and attention and social response, I think, has grinded them down. I could tell from some of them, it's really hard. For some of them, you could tell they just didn't, it felt like they didn't want to be there. You could tell that they were, maybe they signed up to this seeing the paycheck or signed up to this thinking it would go differently. And now they're getting the rage of the community that they were supposedly meant to be protecting. And you can see it on their shoulders. The majority of them, though, and I do think this to be the case, do believe they're doing their job, do believe that they're doing something good. And a lot of times they will snarkily defend that. When I was at the tire being changed and the scene, most of the time I was filming, it was the interaction between the public and them. And just a lot of, like, when the public was like, take off your mask, just a lot of, like, snarky responses as to why they weren't going to take off their masks. And, like, about a bunch of just snarky back and forth, stuff to giggle to themselves later about. And it didn't seem to be doing anything besides provoking the people who were already angry at them and yelling at them after there was already internal explainers, already internal guidelines given by ICE after the shooting of Alex Prinny and Renee Good that you're not supposed to engage with these people. You know, you're not supposed to engage with these people. And you could say these people are the provocateurs. Again, the people I was seeing yelling at them were largely people just walking out of their front yards. It was mostly just people, again, walking out onto the front. There were certain activists that had these like green, you could identify them a lot of times by these like green vests that they wore, and it said like community watch or something along those lines. Community watch, don't shoot. You know, community activists don't shoot. And they'd have their phone out on like a stick and they'd film, and they'd have sound machines to alert people that ICE is coming. A lot of whistles. A lot of whistles have been passed out into a lot of neighborhoods. But most of the time, it was just people walking out the front porch saying, get out of here, get out of here, get out of here. Sometimes it would be polite, and it'd be like an older woman who says, you know, I don't like this. I remember talking to one old woman who's like, you need to rein in ICE. One of the most moderate like protest slogans you could possibly imagine. And then the next person, like housed right next to them, was out there telling the ICE agents like basically instructions on how to like suck on a lollipop shotgun. Very, very impolite, vulgar language. Vulgar, harm-wishing languages. And if you go outside the Whipple building, oh my gosh, you'll hear any number of vulgarities. For those of you who don't know, the Whipple building is right next to, I believe it's Fort Sneed. I don't know if it's pronounced Sneed or I forget it. I believe it's Fort Sneed or something along those lines. It's the location of the last battle between the United States government and Native Americans. Fort Snelling. I'm Fort Sneed. Fort Sneed. Sneeds, feed, and seed. Okay. Sneeds, feed, and seed. Forts, feed, sneed, and seed. Okay, no, but it was Fort Snelling. And that's where ICE operates, and they come out of there, and you can see them coming out of their SUV trucks and such. And there's always some protests out there yelling at them. And I remember at one point I drove by. This is gonna be one of my favorite parts of the movie, to be quite frank, right? I mean, we filmed the Jake Lang scuffle. We filmed the arrest after that. We filmed some nighttime, you know, sound disturbance protests, a lot of ICE fishing. We filmed ICE going on people's lawns, into their driveways to question people. We filmed quite a bit. But I think the two clips that might be my favorite is number one, there was this right-wing provocateur as we were walking over to the Jake Lang event who had the speakerphone, who just kept like accosting people, and I filmed him, and he parked in the middle of the road and then said, keep filming me if you're gay. Keep filming me if you're gay. Oh, I knew it. I'm wearing pink. Do you want to fuck me? And then before you knew it, the guy who was behind him said, get the fuck out of the road. I'm trying to get to work. While the dude's like moaning into his microphone, just trying to find some way to like disturb me, because his point was he's here to like try to like elicit responses, right? He's like a right-wing provocateur. That's what he's trying to do. But to me, it's just like I'm filming a clown. Like, just continue to go off. You know, it's really fun to film you. And it was fun to film you. I mean, me and Patrick really had a laugh about it afterwards. We really did have a big laugh about it afterwards. Yes, but that was one of my favorite moments. My other favorite moment is when I first got there with Merc. Due to the type of vehicle Merc was driving, they thought we were ICE agents, I think, when we first passed, or if not ICE agents, general contractors, because there's a lot of companies, like paper companies, wiring companies, a ton of different local contractors that drive in to the Whipple building. Like, you'll see them take the right turn into the Whipple building. Sometimes they'll even like give peace signs and do all this stuff before immediately showing that they're getting paid by ICE. Immediately showing that they're doing work for ICE, they're helping ICE out. And they get a lot of yelling too. So they thought we were, and so they let us have it. And I got it from the first person perspective of somebody, you know, all these people yelling at us, boo, boo, as we're just filming them as we're going by. And then the last person we film around, we come around the corner, and this guy says, "Look, suck my dick." And I just look at him, and I don't know what came over me. I'm a bastard. I'm sorry. I'm like, I got that little bit of East Coast in me, and my response was, sure. And he kind of just stood there for a second, and he said, well, okay then, come do it. And then I just kind of like made it like a kind of visual kind of air fellatio signal. And the dude was truly taken aback. I could tell that he had not gotten that response before. Anyway, I interviewed him 30 minutes later. Interesting fella, union guy, veteran. Apparently a real bane to local ICE agents. They know him by name. So I would say that a lot of the ICE agents are pretty snarky. I got like a kind of message board debate bro vibe from a good 60% of them. I only saw one that wasn't masked, and he did kind of look like he was 16. I'm not saying he was 16. I would say maybe 20 is being generous, but he did look very young. Which I remember Patrick, who I was there, we were, splitting costs and such while we're both working there. It inspired him to immediately look to me, hey, like, dude, what's that kid doing? He was the only one not masked up. I would pass people on the street who weren't masked up. They would see we were journalists, and they would go like, oh, I saw this a few times. I remember during the Ring Around the Rosie that the ICE agents did at one point, where they were literally in front of us, just going in circles around a roundabout, as if they wanted to really just get rid of us. I remember while passing them, I saw 2 ICE agents not masked up, and they just kind of gave us a look like, oh. And then when I turned back around, they had already slid on their masks. I just remember their faces being very round. I remember no other detail because, again, tinted windows, very difficult. So I think, do I have any conclusions? Number one, I did see ICE agent walk on the private property to confront people. So the idea of ICE is like going to homes of, U.S. citizens, non-U.S. citizens, like that happens. ICE being masked up all the time, definitely the case. Masked up in tinted windows, unidentifiable late model SUVs with dirt on the license plates. That's a real thing. I saw dirt on so many license plates, I stopped counting. So that is those things are real, and it makes it look like unaccountable, masked individuals coming in and snatching people up and questioning people, asking people, sometimes without reasonable cause and suspicion, whether or not they're U.S. citizens, based upon the fact that they're doing operations in the area, and they have been given guidelines to go out there and do sweeps. And that is essentially how Customs and Border Patrol was operating while Bovino was in the community. While I was there, I was told that operations may have died down a bit, but as I continued filming, we got a lot of ICE activity. And so while there might be a drawdown that has not happened yet of 700 people coming, that will still leave 2,000 ICE agents in the Minneapolis and St. Paul areas, which is more than the entirety of the Minneapolis Police Department, more officers. So yeah, a drawdown of 700, and Tim Waltz talking about like ICE operation maybe even being over in a few days. Like these are all signs of drawdown, but if there's still more ICE agents than there are local police officers, and they're still operating the way that we filmed they were operating, which was post Peretti's death, which was post Homan being brought in, post Bovino being moved out, then I mean, I don't think trust is going to be rebuilt in the community. I don't think that's happening. Oh, as for a body cam, there were people wearing body cameras. Immoral, morally corrupt, bankrupt man. Bob and Wap, thank you for giving tier 1 something. I like pie videos. Interesting name. I did see body cams, but I also saw more than one instance of citizens having to tell agents to put on their body cams or turn on their body cams, or unsheath their body cams from the cover, or get their body cam from the car. It happened like with at least 2 people during the big tire change event. And when I say the big tire change event, I mean it was really it was like a whole thing. I mean I don't know how to. I'll bring it up. Mercado Media. I mean, it's not. This obviously isn't my footage, but Mercado was also there. Here you are.
They're the communists. Like I don't like. That doesn't make any sense at all. We're gonna keep it.
There's also local reports of LRADs being bought in. Dude, I saw LRADs at the Whipple building. I saw LRAD at the night protests outside one of the hotels that the ICE was using to house themselves. That a youth group different youth activists like did a noise protest at. They threatened the LRAD multiple times. We never saw it used, but I did see the LRAD. And I know that was a point of interest with multiple journalists I was working with, and we are thinking about doing a project on the LRADs.
I know.
I swear to God, this is for 30 minutes. It took him to change his tire. Hey, there I am, Dylan Burns TV cameo right there. This is what I concentrated on. This area right here, that dude right in front of us was really snarky. This dude right in front of it, he was just snarky as all fuck. I don't know why he was snarky. I'm sure he knew he was being annoying as fuck. I think that's what he got fun. He was having fun with it, but he was like super snarky the whole time going back and forth with protesters. The protesters being mean, but the protesters also, I wouldn't even identify them as protesters because they're like literally, they're on their front yard. Like most of the people that are talking to this guy right now literally walked out their front yard and walked less than 20 to 30 feet to talk to this guy.
Of course. You can't take that back.
You guys can record all you want, just don't go this way.
Yeah, he's a New York photojournalist.
If you loved your job that much, take your fucking mask off, you fucking chicken.
Look at all these people. Why would I take them off?
Yeah, because you're proud. You are. Because you're loud and proud, dude.
You're so proud you don't want us to know who you are.
Yeah.
Arresting old ladies and grade school kids. That's pretty things to be proud of.
Yeah, come on, dude. Take your mask off. And you got...
Anyway, just a lot of anger on that street corner. A lot of anger on that street corner. Was not happy. Was not happy. Whistles are really whistly. You know, whistles are very whistly.